The Quiet Storm, Chapter 1. The rain had been falling for 3 days straight. Not hard, not soft, just steady, like a thought you can't shake. The kind that makes the sea look darker and the sky look tired. I watched it from the window of my rented room above the bakery. The smell of yeast and burnt sugar clung to the curtains. Every now and then, a truck passed, throwing up water that slapped the glass like a warning. It was the kind of town where everyone knew when a stranger arrived. And I had been there long enough to no longer be one, but not long enough to belong. I told myself I'd come for the quiet. But quiet has a way of turning into loneliness if you listen too long. That was the day she showed up. She stood under the awning across the street, smoking. The rain curved off the roof and hit the pavement beside her boots. Her hair was dark, wet at the ends, and her face had that kind of stillness that makes people turn twice. She wasn't waiting for anyone. That's what made it strange. I watched her take a drag and blow the smoke toward the storm, as if daring it to come closer. Then she looked up, right at me. No smile, no gesture, just a look that held, long enough to make me feel caught doing something I hadn't decided was wrong yet. She crossed the street. The bell above the bakery door rang, soft and quick. I heard her order coffee from Marta, the owner, in a low voice. I came down a few minutes later, pretending I needed bread. She was at the corner table, watching the rain the way I had been. Her cigarette sat in a glass saucer, still burning. Terrible weather, I said. She turned, eyes calm. Only if you want the sun. I smiled. Most people do. I'm not most people. That was the first thing she said that stayed with me. I sat down at the next table. Marta brought my coffee, black as guilt. You live here? She asked without looking at me. For now. That sounds temporary. It usually is. She nodded, as if that made sense. Good. Permanent things don't suit me. Outside, thunder grumbled low over the sea. I watched her watch it, the way people watch something they know. You from the coast? I asked. She shook her head. No, but I've chased a few storms. There was a pause. Not awkward, just full. What brings you here? I asked. Same as you, she said. A little quiet. That night, the rain thickened. You could feel it in your bones. I sat by the window again, the lamp low, writing nothing that mattered. Then came the knock. 3 times. Firm, not shy. I opened the door. She stood there in a blue coat that looked darker in the wet. The room downstairs flooded, she said. Marta told me you've got space. I hesitated. Only a second. Come in. She stepped inside, dripping. Her hair stuck to her neck, and her boots left marks on the wooden floor. You sure? She asked. No, I said. But it's dry. That made her laugh, soft and short. Good enough. She sat on the edge of the bed, unbuttoned her coat, and looked around like she was trying to remember something. Do you live alone? Yes. By choice. Mostly. Then you're luckier than most. She looked out the window again. The rain's getting worse. It usually does before it stops. Does it ever stop here? Eventually. She smiled at that. But her eyes didn't. We talked for an hour. About nothing that mattered and everything that did. She told me her name was Ellen, though it didn't sound like her. She said she'd been a singer once, before her voice broke. I told her I wrote sometimes. She asked what about. People, I said. Living ones. Mostly the ones who leave. She nodded like she understood too well. When she finally lay down, she didn't ask for a blanket or to stay. She just closed her eyes as if she'd been there all her life. I sat awake until the lamp burned out. The next morning, the rain stopped. It left the town washed and hollow, like the aftermath of an argument. The sea looked too calm. The kind of calm that doesn't last. Ellen was gone. Her coat hung on the chair. The cigarette smell lingered, mixed with the salt and the yeast from downstairs. I found a note on the table. Just one line. If you're still here tonight, meet me at the pier. No name. No signature. Just rain stains along the edge of the paper, like tears that didn't quite finish falling. I spent the day pretending not to think about it. Helped Marta fix the leak in the bakery roof. Read the paper twice. Drank too much coffee. By evening, the clouds were returning, slow, gray, patient. I walked to the pier. The sea was restless again, tapping against the wood. Boats swayed like men who'd lost their footing. She was there. Of course she was. Standing at the edge, wind in her hair, staring out where the sky met the water. I wasn't sure you'd come, she said. I told myself I wouldn't. Why did you? I don't know. Yes, you do. We stood there, the two of us, in that strange half-light before the rain returns. She said she was leaving in the morning. Didn't say where. Didn't have to. Does it matter? She asked. It might, I said. For who? For me. She looked at me then. Not kindly. Not cruelly. Just honestly. You'll forget me, she said. You look like the kind of man who tries to forget things. And maybe you even manage to. Not always. Then don't try. The first drop of rain hit her cheek like a tear that didn't belong to her. And then it started again. The rain. The sea. The quiet storm. Chapter 2. The quiet storm. 3 months passed. The sea went quiet. The rain came and went, but it no longer spoke. It just fell. The bakery still smelled the same. Yeast and sugar. Marta still complained about the tourists that never came. And I still rented the room upstairs, pretending to write. Ellen's coat hung in the corner where I'd left it. Some days, I'd take it down, fold it, put it away. Then I'd hang it up again. You can't bury what won't stay buried. I told myself she was gone. And that was that. But it never is it? It happened on a Tuesday, the kind of day that doesn't promise anything. I was at the counter drinking coffee that had gone cold when a man came in. Fisherman, older, sun-cut face, the kind that looks carved from driftwood. He carried a small envelope in one hand and a wet cap in the other. He looked around the bakery like he didn't belong there. Then he saw me. You the one rents the room upstairs? I am. He nodded. Then this is for you. He placed the envelope on the counter and left before I could ask another word. Marta watched him go. Friend of yours? No. She frowned. Then what does he want? I guess I'll find out. The envelope was damp. No return address. The handwriting was neat, too careful. Inside was a single page, no greeting, no name. The sea doesn't forget. Neither should you. That was all. At the bottom, pressed faintly into the paper, a mark, the corner of a ticket stub. Port Authority. Date. 2 days ago. Ellen. I didn't need proof. I felt it the way you feel thunder before it hits. That night, I walked down to the pier. The same pier. The air was heavy with salt and something else. The kind of stillness that means the weather's about to turn. The boats were tied close, bobbing softly like they were whispering to each other. Old Tomas, the dockmaster, was locking up his shed when he saw me. You look like you've seen a ghost, he said. Maybe I have. He spat into the water. Then you're in the right place. You see anyone here a few days ago? A woman, dark hair, blue coat. He squinted. Could be. Lot of people come and go. Not her. He thought for a moment. There was one. Didn't talk much. Took the ferry to the island. Left something behind. What? He dug into his coat pocket, pulled out a small key wrapped in string. This. I took it. The tag was metal, rusted, with a number scratched into it. Room 3, the Gannett Inn. Tomas watched me. You going after her? I don't know. Sure you do. The Gannett Inn sat on the far side of the harbor, a place sailors used when they couldn't afford better. I hadn't been there in months. Not since the rain first started. The innkeeper was a woman with silver hair and eyes that could measure a lie in seconds. You renting a room? She asked. No. Looking for one. I showed her the key. She studied it, then me. That one's been empty for weeks. Who had it last? A woman. Stayed 3 nights. Paid cash. Didn't say much. Left in a hurry. Did she leave anything? Depends what you mean by anything. She took me upstairs. The hallway smelled of damp linen and old smoke. Room 3 was at the end. Inside, the air was stale. A chair, a bed, a window facing the sea. Nothing else. Until I saw it, a small notebook under the pillow. I opened it. The first page was blank. The second had 3 words, written in her hand. Don't wait long. The rest was empty. I sat on the bed, the sound of the surf faint below. For a moment, I could almost hear her voice again, low, steady, amused. You think too much, she used to say. You make everything heavier than it needs to be. Maybe she was right. But there's a weight you can't set down once it's been handed to you. When I left the inn, the sky was black with the kind of clouds that meant another storm was coming. I walked along the seawall, coat collar up, the notebook in my pocket. Every light from the harbor shimmered on the wet stone. A figure was waiting near the end, the fisherman from the bakery. He nodded once. She said you'd come. My chest went tight. When, 2 nights ago, took the ferry to the island. Said if you showed up, to give you the note. I looked past him to where the ferry lights blinked faintly in the distance. She tell you why? He shook his head. Didn't seem like the explaining type. She never was. He studied me for a moment. You care about her? Yes. Then go before the weather turns. Back at the room, I packed a small bag, notebook, coat, a flask I hadn't used in years. Marta asked where I was going. Island, I said. Why? To finish something. She gave me that look people give when they know the story will end badly, but also know there's no stopping it. Take an umbrella, she said. I smiled. What's the point? The next morning, the ferry left under low clouds. The town shrank behind me until it was only a gray outline. The sea rolled under the hull, calm for now. I stood on the deck, the wind sharp, the horizon wide and uncertain. I took out the notebook again, turned to the blank pages. Wrote one line. The sea doesn't forget. Neither do I. Then I looked toward the island. The clouds were gathering there. Waiting. So was she. Chapter 3, The Quiet Storm. The island rose out of the mist like something half-remembered. Low cliffs. A scatter of white houses. The smell of wet stone and kelp. The ferry engine coughed, slowed, and the deckhand shouted for ropes. I stood at the rail and watched the gray water slap against the pier. Everything looked washed out, the color of things that have been waiting too long. I was the only passenger to step off. The dock was slick. A gull cried overhead, sharp as a warning. A man in a yellow rain jacket met the boat. Name? He asked. I hesitated. Not sure it matters. He shrugged. It does if you plan to stay. I'm looking for someone. He looked me over, took a drag from his cigarette. Aren't we all? Then he turned and walked off. The island was small, a single road, 2 streets crossing it. A church, a bar, a store with the windows fogged from the inside. The kind of place where silence has weight. I passed a dog sleeping under a table and a woman hanging laundry even though the sky promised rain. Her face turned as I passed. You're not from here. No. You staying long? That depends. She nodded toward the hill. There's a boarding house up the road. They'll take you in. They always take someone in. The boarding house was called The Turn. The paint had peeled to the color of old bones. Inside, the air smelled of damp wool and something cooking too long. The landlady was round, soft-spoken, her hands red from soap. Need a room? Yes. Single? Yes. Name? Call me Daniel. She looked at me like she knew that wasn't the truth. 3 nights, pay in advance. I handed her the money. Storm coming, she said. Best stay inside when it hits. I've been through storms. She smiled faintly. Not this kind. The room had one window, facing the cliffs. The sea spread wide and gray below. On the dresser sat a cracked mirror and a vase with wilted flowers. I unpacked the notebook, placed it by the bed. Don't wait long. Outside, gulls circled the cliffs, screaming. I went down to the bar. The bar was dim, almost empty. 2 fishermen, an old jukebox that didn't work, and a woman behind the counter polishing glasses that didn't need polishing. She looked up when I entered. Coffee. Whiskey. She poured without asking more. The sound of the sea was faint through the walls. You from the mainland? She said. Yes. Looking for someone? Maybe. What's her name? I paused. Ellen. The glass froze in her hand. Haven't heard that one in a while. I leaned forward. You know her? She set the glass down slowly. Depends who's asking. I'm a friend. She didn't leave many of those. Is she here? The woman looked toward the window, as if expecting someone to appear out of the fog. She was. When? 2 nights back. Came in quiet. Sat right where you're sitting. Didn't drink much. Left before the rain started. Did she say where she was going? No. But she asked about the lighthouse. The lighthouse sat on the far edge of the island. I could see it from the bar window, faint through the mist, a black outline against a paler sky. Anyone live there? I asked. Keeper does. Old man. Doesn't talk much. Keeps to himself. Maybe she went there. Maybe. The bartender leaned closer. If you go, wait for daylight. The path's bad in the dark. I won't wait. She studied me a moment, then poured another drink. You sound like her. By the time I left the bar, night had come fast. The sea below the cliffs was a shifting black. The wind cut sideways, cold and sharp. The path to the lighthouse